Hello everyone. Today we will be learning the first chapter of class 11, that is the living word. So let's get started and understand what are all the topics that we would be studying in this chapter. So first of all, we will be studying the topic what is living word. So the living word comprises of all living organisms that are present on this earth. So there are many living organisms that are present. We'll understand the count also in this chapter. So let's start further. They live in almost every corner of this earth. We can't imagine there are so many bacteria that live in acidic nature places also, and they also live in extreme salty areas in marshes and in extreme conditions that we can't even imagine where life exists. So they survive in almost very much extreme conditions also. The study of living organisms, their structure and function, growth, evolution, distribution, and classification is biology. So Earth is the only place where plan is the only planet that supports life. So what are these features that we can see in almost all living organisms? Let's find out. First one is growth, reproduction, metabolism, consciousness, and cellular organization. Whereas metabolism is the only feature that is common, or you can say present only in living organisms. Other or we can somewhat observe in non-living organisms as well. So first of all, we'll understand about growth. Growth is permanent increase in the dry mass of an organism due to increase in number or size of cell. So we all know masses are of two types we can see in living organisms. We see wet mass and dry mass. Wet mass is when the water content is present in a living organisms, whereas dry weight is measured when all the water is removed from an organism. So we see here the dry mass of an organism increase in number or size of the cell. It is an intrinsic property in living organisms. In living organisms, it's intrinsic. Intrinsic. Why non-living organisms, like we can consider mud or we can consider some stones. If we start piling up stones, it is also considered as growth because it's number. Yeah, it's increase in number, but we cannot consider it as intrinsic property because we are increasing different number of stones. We are not increasing the same stone, or nothing is increasing within the same stone that we have put forward. For example, if this is a stone, I'm not increasing anything inside it. We are just piling up stones together. So that is why in non-living organisms it is extrinsic. It is extrinsic. Non-living organisms growth is extrinsic. Okay, so increase in length or mass is not considered growth in living organisms. Increase in length of shoot, germination of seeds, growth of a baby is all examples of growth. So now let's see what NCERT says about growth. All living organisms, yeah, all living organisms grow. It's thing that we all know. We grow from a baby to huge human beings. Increase in mass, increase in number of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. So this is very important. What are the twin characteristics of growth? They are increase in mass, increase in mass, and increase in the number of individuals. Both are the characteristics of growth. A multicellular organism grows by cell division. In plants, this division by cell occurs continuously throughout the lifespan. So we all know we grow throughout our lifetime. We grow from a child, from a baby to with to adults, and then to our old age. So that is growth in human beings. Similar is with plants. Growth in plants does not stop. You see plants growing in all age forms. In animals, this growth is seen only up to a certain age. Yes, in human beings, we see this growth only up to a certain age. We don't have unlimited growth, whereas plants, it is vice versa. Yeah. Okay. So in plants, why it is vice versa? Because in plants, growth is not limited to a certain age. Not limited. Why it is not limited? Because you see, why it is not limited? Because you have a tissue or a type of tissue that is called as meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues. What is meristematic tissues? These are the tissues that grow, that help in growth. Okay, so these are majorly the function is growth. They continuously grow and they increase the size of the cell. So what are the places where you can see meristematic tissues? These are, you can see in tip of shoot and roots. What are these called? Where shoot and roots, they are called as apical meristem. Okay, they are called as apical meristem. What are these apical meristem? They are present in shoot and root. They help in increasing the length of the plant. Okay, next you find them in the increasing girth, which girth also, they are also a type of meristem. Like there are many types of meristem which we will study further, but they also help in increasing the girth. They also help in increasing the cortex, or cortex size also. They are called as corticular meristem, and there are many types of meristem which we'll be studying in the further chapters. So next, unicellular organisms grow by cell division. So we all know reproduction is only cell division there. Like in amoeba and all, we see it's all division, and which is nothing but as growth. One can easily observe this in a in vitro cultures by simply counting the number of cells under microscope. It is very easy to observe growth in unicellular organisms by observing under a microscope. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. So this is very important. In higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events, whereas in unicellular, it's not the same, because one amoeba or any unicellular organism we take, growth is just division of cells, and that is nothing but reproduction in them. Whereas in higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are very different thing. For example, if this is a plant tip, the meristematic tissues present in this continuously grow, but we can't tell this as reproduction. It's just growth, it's not reproduction. Yes, so that is given here, mutually exclusive event. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living organisms, non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criteria for growth. If we take increase in body mass as a criteria of growth, non-living organisms also grow. Mountains, boulders, and sand molds do grow. As we saw in examples, if we keep on piling up sand, it is also considered as growth, because it is increase in the body mass. However, this kind of growth is exhibited by non-living objects, is by accumulation of surface. As we said, we are not increasing a certain unit, we are increasing the growth by adding more units to it. So it is not intrinsic, it is extrinsic growth. In living organisms, the growth is from inside. This is what we understood. Growth therefore cannot be taken as a defining property. As we concluded, growth, we cannot take it as a defining property for living organisms. Why? Because we see it in non-living organisms also, be it, let it be extrinsic growth, but we observe it. So what can be a defining factor for living organisms? It can be only intrinsic growth, okay, not just growth. Conditions under which it can be observed in all living organisms have to be explained. So next comes is what is reproduction, which is another form that we will be studying now, which is another feature that we observe. Okay, yeah. Reproduction. Reproduction is a biological process which new individuals of same kind are produced. It ensures continuity of species. So reproduction, we all know what it is. It is necessary for the continuity of species, and it is also, we cannot take it as a defining feature. Why we will study now? We know the types of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves single parent. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. Offspring are genetically identical in asexual reproduction, but we see variation in sexual reproduction. Examples are given here: binary fission in amoeba, budding in yeast, and humans, flowering plants, and all. We see sexual reproduction in them. So now let's see what NCERT has to say about it. Reproduction is likewise is a characteristic of living organisms. In multicellular organisms, reproduction refers to the production of progeny processing features more or less similar to those of parents. So we know what is reproduction. It's the definition of reproduction here. Invariably and implicitly, we refer to sexual reproduction here. Here, they are referring to sexual reproduction only. Organisms reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply, spread easily due to millions of asexual spores they produce. So this is sexual reproduction in fungi, which is done with the help of asexual spores. In lower organisms like Hydra, yeast, we observe budding. Budding is also another type of asexual reproduction in which a bud is appearing on the parent body. In planaria, we observe true regeneration. Fragmented organism regenerates. The last part of its body becomes a new organism. So if it's a planaria, it gets regenerated, it gets fragmented into a few parts. And if, for example, if this is a part, the other parts get regenerated and it's a new organism. So that is fragmentation, which is observed in planaria. The fungi, the filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses all easily multiply by fragmentation. So these are all things that we will be studying in our plant kingdom chapter. So now let's see it further. When it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae, or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous to growth. So in as we studied above also, what is reproduction and growth are almost synonymous in unicellular organisms. This is also important. Whereas in multicellular organisms, it is mutually exclusive event. So this is also one more statement. Unicellular algae reproduction and growth is synonymous, which is increase in number of cells. We already defined growth as equivalent to increase in cell number. Okay. Next, hence we notice that single-celled organisms, we are not clear in terms of usage of these two terms, growth and reproduction. So we cannot easily refer to something directly as reproduction or growth in unicellular organisms because of this matter now. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce only. There are few organisms that do not reproduce only. They are mules, sterile worker bees, fertile human couples, infertile human couples, etc. So these are all things which are examples which do not reproduce only. So these all are the examples. So because of these two statements, we can conclude that we cannot take reproduction as the exclusive feature that we can see in living organisms only, because mules, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples, they are all living organisms, but we cannot conclude it in all of them. Next, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organisms. Because of this only, amoeba and unicellular algae, bacteria, all reproduce or grow. We cannot conclude it. And even mules, sterile worker bees, and infertile human couples all are living organisms, but they are not able to reproduce. So, if we consider reproduction as a non-inclusive event, we mean that mules, sterile worker bees, and infertile human couples are not living organisms, which is not true. So, we can conclude that it is not a all-inclusive defining character. Of course, non-living organisms is object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Next, we'll see the next growth, which is metabolism, which we can consider as an all-inclusive event or all-inclusive feature. So how, let's see. What is metabolism? Metabolism is a sum total of all chemical reactions that occur in a body of an organism. So all the reactions that takes place in our body, digestion, all the types of any type of chemical reaction that we name is comes under metabolism. So metabolism again is of two types, anabolism and catabolism. What is anabolism? Anabolism is, in simple words, is breaking up. Sorry, building up. Catabolism is breaking up. Catabolism, which is nothing but cut. You can remember it in that way. Cut means nothing but catabolism. Okay, which means breaking down. Anabolism requires energy because it is building up uh, new molecules, we can say. So it is requiring energy. That is, energy is nothing but ATP in this case. Okay, it requires ATP. Catabolism releases because it is breaking down complex molecules. So what are examples? All those processes that require energy. Examples of photosynthesis and protein synthesis, whereas catabolism examples are cellular respiration and digestion. So let's see what NCERT has to say about this. Another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made up of chemicals, which is very true. We are all made up of chemicals. Our body is made up of chemicals. Each cell also has many chemicals. These chemicals, small and big, belonging to various classes, size, functions, etc., are constantly being made up. Yes, biomolecules are constantly made up in our organisms. These conversions are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. One form of chemical is getting converted is nothing but a metabolic reaction or chemical reaction. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously in all living organisms, unicellular or multicellular. Yes, in both unicellular or multicellular organisms, there are various metabolic reactions that are happening. All plants, animals, fungi exhibit metabolism. Yes, all these are living organisms and all of them exhibit all metabolic reactions. The sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. The definition: no non-living object exhibits metabolism. So this is a very important statement because no living object exhibits any metabolism. There are no chemical reactions there. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in a cell-free system. Yes, you can exhibit in a cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside a body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. But this is the cell-free system. You cannot consider it as living nor non-living. It's not any of the above. So it is an example that is given here. While metabolism is a defining feature without an exception, so this is an important statement. Metabolism is a defining character without any exception. Isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living things, but surely living reactions. Cellular organization of the body is a defining feature of living forms. So let's see the next feature, which is consciousness. Okay. Consciousness is the ability of an organism to sense its environment and respond to changes. So we are able to respond to many changes. For example, if there is increase in amount of heat in near our environment, we start to sweat, which is our mechanism or our ability to react to the changes that are happening in environment. Next, it helps in survival and adaptation. Yes, if heat is increasing in our body, we drink a lot of water, we keep our body hydrated, and it helps in survival and adaptations. Similar is in plants also. Plants grow towards light, which is phototropism. Plants need sunlight for their photosynthesis process, so they bend or they grow only towards the sunlight, which is nothing but phototropism. Mimosa pudica leaves fold on touch, which is thigmonatism. Paramecium moves away from harmful substances. These are all examples of consciousness. Next, let's see what NCERT has to say about it. Perhaps the most obvious, we'll see now cellular organization. Technical feature of all living organisms is the ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to these environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. So stimulus can be of any way, physical, chemical, and biological. I'm giving you an example of increase in heat. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Yes, we have 5 sense organs. We sense them through these organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, and pollutants, etc. For example, lichens. All organisms from the prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryotes can sense and respond to environmental cues. Yeah, we saw uh, prokaryotes like a paramecium. Photoperiod affects reproduction and seasonal breeders for it. So this then photoperiod affects reproduction seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. Next, all organisms handle chemicals entering their body. All organisms, therefore, are aware of their surroundings. Yes, we are aware of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, which is self-consciousness. So this is an important feature. Human being is the only organism, not the organism, only the only organism who is aware of himself, that is self-consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, becomes the defining priority of living organisms. Next, when it comes to human beings, it is more difficult to define the living state. So these are some examples that are given here. We come to it. Next, okay, let's see it now only. It is more difficult to define the living feature. We observe patients lying in coma in hospital virtually supported by machines which replaces heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient who has no self-consciousness are such patients who never come back to normal life living or non-living, which is an interesting question which we'll be answering by the end of this chapter. In higher classes, you will come to know living phenomena are due to underlying interactions. Properties of tissue are not present in constituents of cell but arise as a result of interactions among constituent cells. So this is a statement that tells how the properties of tissue are not present in the constituent cells, but they are arising due to the interactions of some cells that are present. Similar properties of cellular organelles are not present in molecular constituents, but arise as a result of interactions among the molecular components of the organelles. Now, next topic is the diversity in living world. So let's see that. The living worlds are extremely diverse. We see so many different types of organisms that are present, which are very much diverse in nature. We see so many types of organisms just by ourselves. So we can't imagine how many are microscopic, how many are prokaryotic, and how many are bacteria that we can find. So organisms, how they vary in size, microscopic to massive, habitats, aquatic, terrestrial, aerial, structure, mode of nutrition, and lifespan. Okay, so let's see what does NCERT have to say about it. If you look around, there are large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. Therefore, there are several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eyes. Yes, with our normal eyes, we can see so many types of organisms in just by ourselves. We can't even imagine how many types of organisms that we cannot see naked eyes are present, but they are all around you. Yes, there are many bacteria that are present. We can only sense them when we get affected by some diseases. Okay, if you were to increase the area that you can make to your observation, the range and variety of organisms that you would see would increase. Yes, by increasing the range, you can increase the number of organisms that we can see. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense jungle, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Yes, the jungle has many types of organisms. We can observe them. Each different kind of plant or organism represents a species. Yes, we each organism that you see individually is a species. For example, if we consider humans, we all are one species, which is sapiens, Homo sapiens, in which sapiens is a species. We all belong to one species, that is sapiens. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. So in this world, the number of species that are known and are described range is between 1.7 to 1.8 million. So there are so many types of organisms that are present in this earth. This refers to biodiversity. What is biodiversity? The number and type of organisms present on the earth. So the number and types of organisms that are living in this earth, the inhabitants of earth, is nothing but biodiversity. New areas and even older ones, new organisms are continuously identified. So there you can identify many organisms in new areas also and in old ones also, which we might have not known at that point of time. As earlier stated, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. So now we start with something called as nomenclature. Nomenclature, which is nothing but naming of the organisms. Naming of organisms, which is standardized. We'll see now. Why it needs to be standardized, we'll see now. Okay. Oh, yeah. By their local names. Yes, we have many local names to the organisms that we see. There are many local names in the local language also. These local names would vary from a place to place. A animal might have a name in my place, might not have the same name in your place, because the language may not be same, or may call it in different ways also. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other. Yes, if I would be referring, if I and you would be referring to a same animal, but we would be naming it in our local languages, would make it very difficult for us to identify the animal itself. So that needs a standardized method for naming it. So that we'll see now. Hence, there is need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called as nomenclature. So what is nomenclature? The standardized naming process of living organisms all over the world is nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. So nomenclature and identification are two important definitions, but they are very different to each other. Nomenclature is just a standardized naming process of living organisms, but we can only name a certain living organism when it is easily described and we can easily have a name attached to it. That is nothing but as identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name. So there are many ways in which many scientists have given their verdict on taxonomy. Let's find out once first. So this is nothing but taxonomy, which is the science of classification. So let's start with this now. Taxonomy is a branch of biology concerned with identification, nomenclature, and classification also. So what is taxonomy? It is nothing but a branch of biology which is concerned with identification, nomenclature, and classification. So what all we study now, it is comes under taxonomy and also classification, which is nothing but I've named an animal, I have identified it also correctly. Now I need to classify it in which it has its what you can say it's inherited families, or what you can say is it's similar feature sharing other animals also. So that is nothing but classification. It helps in understanding the diversity and relationship among organisms. So we can easily understand the relationships between organisms by using taxonomy. Taxonomy brings order to diversity. Now let's understand the features, or you can say the rules for taxonomy. First, let's understand the need of classification, then we'll go to taxonomy. With millions of species, it becomes difficult to study each organisms without a systematic arrangement. Yes, you need to arrange or you need to classify organisms. Like if I have all the fungi classified in one class, I can easily understand or easily able to study all the fungi by studying their common features, the mode of reproduction, the mode of nutrition, the special features they have, the cellular structure, their mechanism, their metabolic reactions easily, the same way as we study plants. In plants, we are able to understand easily because we have placed all the plants or all the organisms that have similar features in a kingdom called plantae. Or classification helps in organize a vast diversity, help in easy identification, helps in knowing the relationship among organisms, avoiding confusion due to local or common name, help in studying similarity and differences. So we have understood the definitions also. Now let's see further things. Biologists have follow universally accepted principle to provide scientific names to organisms. Yes, biologists have now started to give a standardized naming procedure that is nothing but binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. This system, it has two components. What is binomial nomenclature? The word itself is binomial, meaning two. Each name has two components, that is generic name and specific epithet. This generic name is nothing but the genus of the organism. Generic name is genus of the animal or the organism. Specific epithet is the species of the organisms. So both of them is included in a binomial nomenclature. Now let's see how these rules or how it is facilitated. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established a scientific name to each organism. This is acceptable to all the biologists around the world. So it is accepted all around the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria of the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, that is ICBN. For plants and animals, it is International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. These are two important bodies that set rules for us. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. The description of an organism should enable the people to arrive at the same name. Yes, if I have a description, or I have seen a new organism, can describe it in certain points, and then I would be able to come to a conclusion of one animal only. Not like I am concluding one animal, my friend is concluding another animal. It should not be in that way. They also ensure that such names has not been used for any other organisms. Yes, it is also important for us to know that it is not repeated, like the name is not repeated with any other animal previously, or any organism, sorry. This naming, or the binomial nomenclature, was given by a scientist called as Carolus Linnaeus, who is being practiced by biologists all around the world. The theory, or the procedure, binomial nomenclature, was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Important. This naming system has, using a two-word format, was found convenient. It was found convenient. It is being used. Now let's see an example of mango and find out. Providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. This is the scientific name of the mango, Mangifera indica. So in this, let's find out how to write, or the rules for nomenclatures, the universal rules for nomenclature. So this first one here, which you can see, is nothing but genus, and this is species. So what are genus and species? We'll study further in this chapter only. Okay. This is genus and species, which is a binomial name, the name binomial nomenclature. And here, yeah, here you can also, again, it is given Mangifera refers to genus, and indica refers to species. So all the biological names, so this word Mangifera indica, it is Latinized, or it is derived from a Latin word. That is the first rule. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. When written, you have to write it, sorry, when it is written in italics, like when it is typed, you write it in italics, or when you have handwritten it, you need to write it separately. For example, if I'm writing it, you need to write it in this way, Mangifera indica, and underline it separately when handwritten. When typed, you need to italicize it. Now, here the first word, first letter of genus needs to be capital, and the species, it's okay. They are Latinized and derived from Latin, irrespective of origin. Because why only Latin? Because it's a dead language. So it is derived from Latin. The first word is in the biological name represents genus, and the second component denotes a specific epithet. Both the words in a biological name, whether when handwritten, needs to be separately underlined and printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. As I said, when I'm writing it, when I'm handwritten, you need to underline them separately. When typed or printed, you need to italicize it. Next, the first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with an example. As I said, the first word of genus needs to start with a capital one. This one needs to be a small letter. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet at the end of biological name and written in abbreviated form. So, for example, Mangifera indica Linnaeus, that is Carolus Linnaeus, we can write it Linnaeus in an abbreviated form like this, which is given. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. For example, if I'm writing Mangifera indica Linnaeus, it was first described by Linnaeus. That is its significance. Since it is nearly impossible to study all organisms, it's important for it to classify. Now we are coming to importance of classification. What is classification? Classification is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient groups based on some easily observable characters. For example, if I have 4 to 5 colorful balls, I would be segregating them based on the similarity of color. That is nothing but I'm classifying the balls based on easy observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants, animals, or dogs, cats, or insects. Yes, if I have a dog, cat, and insects, I group them by the observable characters. That is nothing but classification. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters. Yes, dog means we have certain associated image with it. Obviously, each one of us sees dogs and not cats. Now, if we were to think of stations, we know that what we are talking about. Similarly, we suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hairs. For example, if I give you if I say mammals, we would obviously come to a point which is all those animals which are having external ears and body hairs would be coming under mammals. That is a phylum in, for not a phylum, it is a part in animals. Likewise, in plants, if we are trying to talk about wheat, the picture of each in our mind will be of wheat plant, not of rice. If I say a hibiscus plant, we will have the image of hibiscus only, not rose. So that is importance of classification. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals are convenient categories to use to study. This scientific term of these category is taxa. When I have named certain organism, for example, dog, an individual organism, that is a taxa. Here we must, what that's a scientific name. Okay, the scientific term of these category is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at different levels. Taxonomy or taxa is not referred, for example, just for a species. I can refer it to a family also. For example, a Solanaceae family I can refer. It's not necessary that I need to refer it to a only species or just genus. Plants also form a taxa. I can say plant is also one taxa, animal is also a taxa, fungi is also a taxa. Wheat is also similarly animals, mammals, dogs are also, but you know that dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, dogs represent taxa at different level. All of them are taxa, but mammal dog is one mammal and mammal, all of them come under animal category, which is animals, which is one taxa. So all of them are taxa, but at different levels. For example, this is species, this is and this is a complete kingdom. Next, hence, based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. Now you can categorize in taxa. So what are they? They are nothing but, the process is nothing but taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with structure of cell development, process, and ecological information of organisms are essential and form basis of taxonomic studies. So these are the basis of taxonomic studies. Hence, all of them, that is nothing but characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature process, that are basics of taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. This is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about various organisms. In earlier days, human beings needed to find sources of their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, earliest classification were based on uses. So there were very much different types of classification, or the basis of classification that we can say were done to human organism by humans, which we'll be studying in next chapter, that is biological classification. So let's skip this part now. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more and about different kinds of organisms, but diversity also, but also the relationship among the organisms. This branch of study is called as systematics. So we were also interested in knowing how two organisms are related. So that is nothing but systemics. Systematics. The word systematics is derived from a Latin word systema. So this is one word again from Latin word. It is a Latin derived word, which is nothing but systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Systema means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. So suppose a book published by again Carolus Linnaeus as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. All these were again included in it. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationships between organisms. So here, if you see in taxonomy, we did not include anywhere evolutionary classification, whereas systematics included the evolutionary relationship. Now let's understand the taxonomic categories now. Now we again come back to taxonomy, the taxa which we see. Now let's see how you categorize them. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps. Since the category is part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is taxonomic category, and all categories together constitute taxonomic hierarchy. Each one is a taxonomic category. When you conclude or when you categorize all of them, it is nothing but taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification, which is nothing but taxon or taxa. Plural is taxa, singular is taxon. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common feature, three pair of jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable concrete objects and thus were given a rank or category. So you can identify insects in this way, that is having three pair of jointed legs. You can name other such organisms. Now if we say insects, we can name so many organisms in it, so it is one taxon. Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon represents a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups, categories, are distinct biological entities. Now, we'll study how it is categorized. Okay. Yes. So now, what are taxonomic categories? We will see now. It is categorized, or organisms are arranged in a hierarchy of categories. What is it? It is arranged as kingdom, phylum or division. Phylum in animals and division in plants. Okay, then comes class, order, family, genus, species. Now here, broad category of general characters, narrow category, specific categories. Characters, sorry. Broad categories, what does it mean? Now let's take an example here. For kingdom, I'll take animals, animalia, animals. Animals as a category, as a kingdom here. Now here in animals, I may refer to one, let's take humans, and I can refer to one more as crocodile, let's take. Now, if I, or let's take a simple one like birds. Let's take example of bird. Easily we can recognize birds, any bird we can say. Humans and birds both come under animal kingdom. Both of them are in a same kingdom, but we can see there are many general characters that come in common to it, but there are very less specific characters that I can count in between them. So in kingdom till class, in kingdom till order, there are general characters, or they are broad categories, whereas when it comes to family, genus and species, it is more specific, and when it comes to species, it is even more specific. Always remember, kingdom is the broadest and species is the most specific, because if I am telling homo sapiens, if I'm telling Homo sapiens, here I refer to humans only, and the characters very much specific to humans, not related to birds. Whereas if I tell animals here and humans or Homo sapiens, or sapiens, just not even Homo, just sapiens, animals and sapiens, in these, the broader one would be animals, that is nothing but kingdom, and more specific one would be sapiens, that is species. Now, further, let's see each of the category in detail. Okay. First, let's start with kingdom, the broader one. Then we'll come to each one of them. Kingdom. All animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the highest category called Animalia in classification. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is a distinct and comprised of all living organisms. Hence, we refer to two groups, animal and plant groups. The taxonomic category from species to kingdom shows an ascending order starting from species to. These are broad categories. Taxonomists have also subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate and sound scientific placement. There are many subcategories which will be studying in those particular kingdoms, like in Animalia will be animal kingdom will be studying in subcategory, and even in plants. Further, As we go higher from species, as we go higher from species to kingdom. Now, as we move from species to kingdom, the number of common characters goes on decreasing. Now, as we move from species to kingdom, as they are saying, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more the characteristics that the member within the taxon share. For example, if I say mammals, they share more number of mammals. For example, mammals, the amount of common characters that I can list will be more here, whereas when I compare to animal or animalia, as it is the name of the kingdom, when you can say, right? That is how we see the common characters. Next, higher the category grade is the difficulty for determining the relationship to each other taxa at the same level. So it becomes difficult to compare the relationship. The problem of classification becomes more complex. So it becomes again complex here. Next, phylum. Classes comprising of animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals constitute the next higher category called phylum. All these based on common features like presence of notochord, dorsal, hollow, neural system with same which are included in the phylum Chordata. So mammals come under a phylum which is nothing but Chordata. Mammal is a subphylum, we can say, or class. In case plants, classes with few similar characters are assigned into a higher category called as division. So phylum is alternatively called division in plants. Okay. Next, class. This category includes related orders. So what does class include? It includes related orders. For example, Primata comprises of monkeys, gorillas, and gibbons, is placed in animal in class Mammalia along with order Carnivora, which that includes animals like tiger and dogs. So in this, class is nothing but it is the what you can say category or a what you can say a group of related orders. So what all orders, for example, they have given here monkey, gorilla, and gibbons. These all are included in a class Mammalia along with what another order. So there are two orders here, Primata and Carnivora. Again, they are given examples here, monkey, gibbons, and tiger, cat, and dog. All of them are coming under a class of related characters. That is nothing but class here, which is Mammalia. Next, we come to order. Again, class Mammalia has many other orders which are not given, which are not presently given to us. Now, here we'll see further in the chapter, we'll see. Order, you have seen earlier that categories like species, species, genus, and families are based on number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomy are based on aggregates of characters. What is order based on? It is and other higher order, either higher categories are based on higher taxonomy are based on aggregates of characters. Orders being this is an important statement. Let's just highlight it. Order being a higher category is assembly of families which exhibit similar features. So there are many families that are coming under one similar order. A similar character are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convoluciae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polymonales, mainly based on the floral characters. So these are the families that are included in the family in the order based on the floral characters. The animal order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. These are the two families which are included in the order Carnivora that we just saw in this class one. Next, we come to the next one, that is family, that is a below one. So now family has group of related genera which still less number of similarity as compared to genus. What does it include? Related group of related genera, but still less number of genus and species. Similarities related to genus and species. Families are characterized based on both vegetative and reproductive features. So these are the features that are included in this. Among plants, like for example, three different genera, Solanum, Petunia, and Dadura, are placed in the family Solanaceae. So these are the genuses that are placed in one family, that is Solanaceae, which decreases the amount of similar characteristics. For example, in Solanum, you can have many different genera that are present. Solanum is a genera in which are taken and made into a family which is Solanaceae. But we can have many species. For example, Solanum tuberosum, which is potato, which increases the amount of similar properties that are present in that part. Next, among animals, for example, Panthera comprises of lion, tiger, and leopard. Now, Panthera is one genus. So, if I start with Panthera leo, it is nothing but lion. Panthera tigris is tiger. Panthera is leopard. So, if I have Panthera is nothing but a genus here, but that is again taken into uh, take care, and it is put along with another genus, that is Felis, in the family Felidae. So what are the two genuses that are taken here? Felis and Panthera are taken into the same family, that is Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of cat and dog, you will find some similarity and some differences. They are separated into two different families, that is Felidae and Canidae. So here, if you see a cat and dog, you have some similarities also, but there are some differences that also you can see. So they are placed in different families, that is Felidae and Canidae respectively. Next, we see genus. Genus comprises of related species which has common characters in common in comparison to the species of the other genera. We can say that, for example, potato and brinjal are two different species, but both belong to the same genus, Solanum. As I said, there is, if you see Solanum, Solanum. If I add tuberosum to it, it becomes potato. If I add brinjal, I add the, what is it, a species, it becomes a different altogether living organism. Next, lion, that is nothing but Panthera leo, leopard Panthera pardus, tiger, that is Panthera tigris, with several common features, are all species in the genus Panthera. This genus differs from other genus Felis, which includes cat. So cat has another genus, that is Felis, but Panthera is for lion, leopard, and tiger, which is included in the same genus Panthera. Next comes species, which has the most amount of common characters. Taxonomic study considered the group of individual organisms with fundamental similarity as species. One should be able to distinguish one species from other closely related species based on distinct morphological differences. So here, lion, leopard, and tiger, we are differentiating based on they are closely related species, but we are distincting on morphological differences and many other differences also. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum, and Panthera leo. All three names, indica, tuberosum, and leo. Here, the second words, indica, tuberosum, and leo, are nothing but species of these three organisms are representing specific epithet, while the first word, all of them are genera, represent another higher taxonomic or taxon or category. Each genus may have more than one specific epithet. For example, Panthera leo, Panthera pardus, Panthera tigris for lion, leopard, and tiger each. They are having different, each, like Panthera is having three different specific epithet, but there is one genus in it. For example, Panthera has tigris, Solanum has nigrum, and Melonesia. Human beings belong to species sapiens, which is grouped into genus Homo. The scientific name, thus, for human beings is written as Homo sapiens. Sapiens is genus, Homo is genus. Sorry, sapiens is species. Now let's see it in the notes also. Let's start from family. Family is nothing but group of genera. Members share vegetative and reproductive characters here. Similarities are less than genus but more than order. Examples given here are Solanum, Petunia, Datura, all of them come under the family Solanaceae. Again, Panthera and Felidae, Felis, Felidae, dog, Canidae. Here, these all Panthera and Felis are nothing but genuses here. These are nothing but genus. These closely related are coming under one family, that is Felidae. Next is families are recognized mainly using vegetative and reproductive characters, as we said. Here is the order. Next, okay, next let's come to order. Group of related families is nothing but order. Members share few similarities than those of family. Again, the decreases here. Similarities are based on common characters. Plants, Solanaceae, Convoluceae, order Polymonades. Here is a family order. Next, animals, Felidae and Canidae. These are cat and dog, as we saw, come under order Carnivora along with Panthera here. Order is formed by combining families. Similarity decreases as we move upward, as we have already seen. Next comes class. The class contains one or more related orders. Again, one or more orders can come in here. Members possess borders. Broader common characters here. Example is Mammalia, which includes Primata, Carnivora, and many other orders here. Humans, monkeys, tiger, and dog. Class Mammalia includes different orders. Phylum, the more broader one here. Phylum, group of related classes, is nothing but phylum. Organism possesses fundamental features. Phylum Chordata includes fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammalia, which are nothing but classes that are present in phylum. Okay. Again, here there are many organisms like fish and birds. You can compare. There are less number of features that you can come in common. Yes. Next, division is considered in plants equivalent to phylum in plants. Example, Angiospermae and Gymnospermae. NCERT point, animals is nothing but phylum. Plants, its division very frequent. Okay. Next, kingdom. Kingdom is the highest taxonomic category. For main kingdoms here are Plantae and Animalia. Kingdom is the broadest category. Now let's see for species also. Species is a basic unit of classification, a group of organisms that can interbreed naturally and produce fertile offspring is nothing but species. This one definition for species. Group of organisms that can interbreed and create and produce fertile offspring is nothing but species. Member of species are similar in morphology, physiology, genetics, and behavior. So example, all domestic dogs belong to the same species, Canis. Okay, Canis lupus. Next, we'll come to genus here. Genus is a category that includes one or more closely related species, organisms of same genus share a common basis of plan of body structure. The first word of is nothing but genus, second is species. Example, Homo is the genus, sapiens is a species. Here there are given some more, but we'll stick to the NCERT one. So the NCERT table we'll see here. Here there are four examples that are given here: man, housefly, mango, and wheat. And their genus, family, order, class, and phylum is given here, which is very important. So let's see. For humans, the scientific name is Homo sapiens. Genus is Homo, which can be easily come from the biological name only. His family is Hominidae. Order is Primata. Class is Mammalia, and phylum is Chordata. Next is housefly, Musca domestica. Here again, the first word is genus. Mucidae is the family. Diptera is the order. Insecta is the class. Arthropoda is the phylum. Next, we see two plant examples here. Mango, which is Mangifera indica. We saw it further only. Again, first word is genus. Enarchinidaceae is the family. Sapindales is the order. Dicotyledone is the class here. Angiospermae is the phylum here. Wheat, Triticum astivium is the biological name. Triticum is the genus. Poaceae is a family. Poales is the order. Monocotyledone is the class, and Angiospermae is a division. Now, so this is all the chapter living world. Because taxonomic aids are not present for our chapter, let's just summarize the whole chapter with the help of a mind map. So now first we saw what we saw, we understood what is living here. So now, and then we saw features of living organisms. Let's start now. Cellular organization. All living organisms are made up of one or more cell, which is the basis of structural and functional unit of life. Metabolism is the sum total of all biochemical reactions in a body, includes anabolism and catabolism. And growth. Next, growth and development, increase in size and number of, and dry mass that is irreversible. Development is maturation of body functions. So again, intrinsic growth is defining for living, not extrinsic, because we see it in non-living also. Reproduction, ability to reproduce. Individuals response to stimuli, detect and respond to changes internal and external. These are all not necessary. Okay. Now let's see the taxonomic hierarchy: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, species. Move as the number of organisms as we move from species to kingdom, the number of organisms increases. Similarity among members decreases, and similarity among members decreases, and specificity of character decreases. Once again, let's see what we saw here. Here, species Homo sapiens, I refer to just a part of a living organisms. But as I move above animals, I come broader number of animals. Here, the number increases. But as I move from below to above, that is species to kingdom, the amount of similar characters decreases, and similarly the specificity also decreases. Now let's see in detail. Species, it is a basic unit of classification. Organisms of same species can interbreed naturally and produce fertile or offsprings. Members share similar morphology, physiology, and behavior. Example: sapiens. Genus, group of closely related species. Members have many common characteristics. Panthera, lion, tiger, and leopard. And solanum includes potato and brinjal. Family, group of related genera based on vegetative and reproductive characters. Similarity less than genus and but more than order. Solanaceae, Feridae, and Canidae are examples. Order, it is related to families. Organisms share fewer similarities than those of within the family. Similarities based on common characters. Example: polymonoids and carnivora. Class is related order. Members have broader common characteristics. Mammalia is an example. Phylum, animal, it is phylum. For plants, it is division. Related classes, fundamental features. Example is chordata. In plants, it is angiospermia or gymnospermia also. Kingdom, highest taxonomic category, phyla and divisions. Here are the two important which we'll be studying in detail. So what is taxonomy? Taxonomy helps in proper identification, classification, and naming of organisms. It is essential for agriculture, forestry, industry, and biodiversity studies and conservation. So here is one trick that can help you remember the a taxonomic hierarchy, which is King Philip came over for a good soup. So, which can give you the initials and help you remember these, which is like kingdom, K, phylum, P, C for class, O for order, F for family, G for genus, and species. You can just remember the mnemonic and help you in remembering this one. Next comes key terms: identification, recognizing and determining the organism. Nomenclature is assigning scientific name to organisms. Classification is nothing but grouping organisms based on similarity and differences. Next, we have this important table, which is very important. Now, let's end this video as we have covered the complete living world under within 1 hour, and we have also covered it NCERT. So, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. Thank you.